Welcome to Narrative Nook Audio Tales, where enchanted stories come to life. If you enjoy our stories, please subscribe, like and share to support our channel. Enjoy listening. If she remembered correctly, the brothers of Snow and Rain, like her third brother Stanley, were in their junior year, so they had long lived on campus and rarely came home. Looking at the expensive scooter, Nicole gently raised an eyebrow. She was different from the girls in Class A. Scooters were her favorite. So she appreciated this kind of thing. But the Riddle family did not like scooters, and Mr. Riddle Sr. strictly prohibited anyone from riding scooters to and from school. So it seemed that Preston was daring. He was not there now. Nicole continued to walk on. A guy suddenly came out of the campus supermarket with a bottle of sports drink in his hand. He took off his helmet, held back his head, and poured the drink down his neck, his sexy throat not rolling up and down. He then combed his sweaty, short hair back with his fingers, revealing an attractive face full of vitality, causing girls around him to scream in admiration. The guy was Preston, who heard the cry and frowned with an annoyed look. A large part of the reason he did not want to come to school was that he hated these brainless idiots gathering around and looking at him as if he was an animal in the zoo, which was really silly enough. Thinking of this, he put on his helmet again and walked toward his scooter. Wearing a helmet limited his viewing angle, so he bumped into Nicole. Nicole frowned, looked up, and saw a guy wearing a black helmet. "Didn't you keep your eyes on the road while walking?" Getting scolded, Preston's face darkened, but when he saw her beauty, half of his anger disappeared. He then remembered the recent rumor on the school forum. She looked like the girl who allegedly bullied Snow, so he became brazen. "Was it me who didn't pay attention? Or was it you who mixed with the school bully deliberately looking for trouble?" "What do you mean?" Nicole frowned. This guy bumped into someone and did not apologize. How rude. "What do I mean?" Preston smiled and pressed a button on the helmet to open the voyeuristic black mirror, revealing his handsome face. "I know that I have a lot of fans at school. I don't mind if you are my fan. But you deliberately bumped into me to create a chance encounter. Such a tactic is old-fashioned." Nicole almost laughed at the man's imagination. "I am your fan? Are you some kind of celebrity? Stop flattering yourself." Completely losing her patience, Nicole pushed Preston away with force. Preston did not expect her to have such strength. He was pushed straight into the glass window of the supermarket. For the first time in his life, he was so rudely pushed away. Preston was angry. "Damn you! How dare you push me?" Not bothering him at all, Nicole left without even looking back. Many people saw what happened. It was the first time they saw Preston looking so embarrassed. A few female students said indignantly, "Nicole is too cocky. She even dared to push Preston. That is too much." Preston heard that and made a note of her name in his mind. "Nicole? I will remember you." Annoyed, he turned back to the motorcycle, straddled it, and started the engine. The $9 million machine screamed to life and roared away, scaring away the girls gathering around him. Nicole had forgotten what had just happened and went straight back to the dormitory. But when she arrived, she was surprised to find that the door was open. It was only 7:30. Lulu had clearly told hers that she must sleep late on weekends and would not get up before 10 o'clock a.m. So how could the door have been opened? But June always got up early. Maybe she went out to the library and forgot to close the door. So Nicole entered her dorm room. To her surprise, they were all there. Lulu was sleeping, while June was a little flustered, looking for something. Nicole raised an eyebrow and walked to her table. Just as she was sitting down, she keenly found that someone seemed to have touched her bedside table. She always carried her laptop with her, so she did not lock the bedside table when she left. Looking at the table again, she noticed that the position of several books had also shifted. Nicole had an excellent memory, and she would remember where everything was when she left. It seemed that someone had searched her belongings but did not find what they wanted, so things had shifted positions, but nothing was missing. Someone must have come in at night while the other two were sleeping, and these people probably rarely did this kind of thing, so they did not cover their tracks well. With this in mind, a frosty look appeared in Nicole's eyes. June had just noticed Nicole and greeted her enthusiastically. "Hey Nicole, you are back." Nicole nodded gently. She noticed something wrong with June's expression, as if she was desperate. When she thought of her things being searched, Nicole had almost guessed why June looked the way she looked. "Is something missing, June?" June looked at her in amazement, as if asking her how she knew. Something was indeed missing. It was something most precious to her. Nicole looked at her knowingly. "The door was open when I came back, but you seemed to be busy and might not have noticed it." June then looked at the door, and sure enough, it was open. Nicole thought they deliberately left it open, so she did not close it when she came back. June became anxious, thinking that she might not have misplaced her things, but likely someone had stolen them. Not knowing what to do, she subconsciously wanted to ask Nicole for help. "Nicole, I have got a bracelet missing. Can you help me get it back?" At this time, Lulu sat up in bed, looking groggily at them while rubbing her eyes. Seeing that Lulu had woken up, Nicole did not answer June but looked at Lulu. "June's bracelet is missing. Please check if you have anything missing too." Lulu's vision normalized again. Hearing that there might have been a thief, she quickly got up to check her belongings. She cried and mourned after a while. "My necklace is missing, and my crystal hairpin is not in the box. The thief is too much, taking 2 of my most expensive stuff at once." Nicole nodded. Since Lulu said that they were expensive, at least worth $5,000, and that was an amount high enough for filing a case with the police. She then turned to June. "The security department will not agree to let us see the surveillance recordings. I have 2 ways. First, call the police, but it will be very slow. Second, I will use my own ways to help you get things back." June barely thought about it and chose the second option. Nicole seemed to have known that June would choose this option. She took out her laptop and turned it on without hesitation. Both June and Lulu looked at her, unsure of what Nicole was going to do with such a heavy and clumsy-looking laptop. "Nicole, what are you doing with the computer?" Lulu asked in a soft voice. June also could not help but look at Nicole in puzzlement. She had chosen to let Nicole help her, but it did not mean that she fully believed Nicole. It was just that the bracelet was important to her, and she wanted to get it back quickly. Nicole did not answer, her eyes focusing on the computer screen. The Royal Creek Institute's security system was comprehensive, but to Nicole, it made no difference. Quickly, Nicole had hacked into the surveillance system of the security department. She rapidly typed on the keyboard and compiled a line of codes, and started searching. It did not take long before she called up last night's surveillance footage of the corridor. The entire process lasted only 5 minutes. She copied the surveillance footage to local storage and then withdrew, erasing every history of her visit seamlessly without leaving a trace. Lulu and June watched on with their mouths agape. They could not understand a thing about the numbers and alphabets that rapidly popped out on the screen, but they could see the school surveillance footage clearly. They marveled at Nicole's ability to hack the school's surveillance system by just using an old computer. The 2 of them could not say a word. They just waited quietly on one side. Nicole opened the video file saved on the computer and beckoned to the 2 girls, who were looking at her adoringly. "Let's watch it together." June could not wait but rushed over, followed by Lulu. All 3 of whom had their eyes on the surveillance video that Nicole had already begun to play. As the time passed by, minute by minute, a few sneaky figures appeared in the video. They were wearing pajamas, sneaking up in front of Nicole's room. The leading girl took a key to Nicole's bedroom from her pocket, opened the door, peered in first, and then waved her hand, and the 3 of them entered tandem. 10 minutes later, they were seen coming out in a hurry, almost running as soon as they left the room, leaving the door open. Nicole continued to play the surveillance video until she confirmed which dorm the girls lived in. They glanced at each other as they recognized these 3 girls. The trio were the 3rd-year students who had come to check on the dormitory earlier. Nicole's face looked frosty. She did not expect that Mr. Ellison's warnings did not deter the 3 girls. Instead, they had broken into her dorm room. The school surveillance was cleared every day and a half, after which it would be difficult for Nicole to find the perpetrators again. Seeing this, Lulu said indignantly, "No wonder they could enter our dormitory. The 3rd-year students live in Building B next door, which is connected to Building A, where we live by a staircase. It is too easy for anyone to come in. Besides, they have the key, as they are responsible for checking the dormitory. This created a wonderful opportunity for them." June also nodded gently in agreement. Seeing that it was the third-year students and knowing they were nasty to mess with, she looked at Nicole with some concern. What should we do next? They have stolen from us, but they are third-year students. Should we just give up and not offend them? Nicole looked at June, whose brows were knitted together. She could tell that the bracelet was indeed important to June, but June did not want Nicole to get into trouble because of her. Yeah, Nicole. I have a lot of necklaces and hairpins. Should we just let it be? Lulu screwed up her face when speaking about it. But the things that were stolen were her most favorite necklace and hairpin. She would be lying if she said she was not emotionally distressed. Nicole looked at the two of them and let out a strange smile. She then picked up the phone on the table. Come with me. Lulu and June glanced at each other, knowing that Nicole was going to help them retrieve the lost property. Looking at each other again, the two gritted their teeth and quickly followed. Since Nicole was not afraid to offend the third-year students for their sake, they had no reason to back away. Nicole did not say a word along the way. Lulu and June, on the other hand, acted as if they were warriors going to war. Their expressions were grave. They were nervous, like they were going to do something big. Arriving at those girls' dormitory, Nicole raised an eyebrow when she listened to the annoying laughter coming from inside. Just as Lulu was cautiously trying to knock on the door, Nicole raised her leg, kicked open the door with force, and strode in. Lulu and June were stunned for a second before quickly following Nicole to get in. A death-like silence fell in the room as the talking and frolicking voices just suddenly stopped. Those girls looked at Nicole as if they had seen a ghost. The fat girl who was the leader tried to gather herself. Why are you all so ill-mannered? Nicole was not in the mood to listen to her nonsense. She glanced at the fat girl with knife-like eyes, and silence fell in the room instantly again. Nicole looked down and fiddled with her mobile phone, saying, "Hand things over and apologize." She was born with a good look. Now she looked fearsome, with a pair of upturned eyes, her icy beauty making her look even more dignified. Those girls were intimidated by Nicole's gaze and all quaking in their boots. They did not expect Nicole to find them so quickly. They were stunned for a while, with the other two girls kept glancing at the fat girl, who was sweating profusely from nervousness. The fat girl quibbled, "I don't understand what you say. But you broke into our dormitory and affected our sleep. We will tell the teacher. Now, you all are not welcome in our dormitory. Get the hell out of here." Apparently, it was the fat girl who had broken into their dormitory and stolen things from them, yet she threatened them. Lulu and June could no longer hold back their anger and glared at the fat girl, who glared back at them without the slightest sense of remorse. Just by the three of them, it was impossible to get the surveillance record from the security department in such a short time. Without this thinking in mind, the fat girl straightened her body. She did not know how Nicole found them out, but there was no way they could find evidence so quickly. Besides, they did not steal many things, and even if Nicole reported it to the police, the surveillance record would have long been erased by the time the police arrived. So it was pointless for Nicole to behave so aggressively because, in the end, Nicole could do nothing about her. Thinking of how Nicole kicked her last time, she kept a safe distance so that Nicole could not hit her, no matter what. The fat girl's confidence seemed to have assured the other two girls, who appeared less worried and stood with their arms crossed, looking defiantly at Nicole and others. Nicole sneered when she saw them like this. "Do you all really think that I come to you with no evidence?" The fat girl looked at Nicole and laughed from a distance. "We are innocent. Don't try to accuse me without providing any evidence. Who do you think you are, that you will scare us by saying things like that? Open your eyes. We are your seniors in the third year. We have seen enough brats like you. Crawl back to your dormitory and bear with it." The fat girl and others no longer dared to mess with Nicole after the last incident. But last night, they got a call from Rain, who offered something that they could not resist. They at first thought of making a big fuss in Nicole's dormitory again. But wary of Nicole's badass self-defense skills, they came up with the idea of stealing valuables from her dormitory, leaving Nicole having no choice but to bear with it. Just that she did not expect Nicole to be so dead broke. The only valuable things she possessed seemed to be those foreign language books. But since they did not read books and stealing the books could easily expose them, they decided to take the expensive-looking jewelry from Lulu and June's cupboards. They did not expect that while they were happily laughing at Nicole and her two roommates for being as stupid as a donkey, never imagining that they had taken the things away, and discussing how to divide the loot, Nicole would kick in the door and storm in, as if she really knew that they had stolen the things. Right now, the fat girl and others were sheepish as hell. But at this point, Nicole had no proof. They were going to deny it till Kingdom came, and there was nothing Nicole could do about them. Those girls laughed triumphantly with this thinking in mind. Seeing that they did not admit it, Nicole said nothing more. She turned on the screen of her mobile phone and waved it in front of those girls. "Open your freaking eyes and see carefully what is this?" At first, the fat girl could not care less. But when she saw the video playing on the phone, she looked in disbelief. The two girls did not see the surveillance video. But looking at the fat girl's terribly alarmed expression, they realized that something was wrong and quickly took a look at what happened. They almost fainted at the sight of the surveillance video. The video clearly showed the faces of the people. Anyone who knew them would recognize them at once. Nicole had chosen the exact footage where they came to Nicole's dormitory building until they left and returned to their dormitory after stealing things with all of their faces clearly shown. The police would know what was happening when they saw it. Seeing the few of them were too frightened to speak, completely without the brazen cockiness they had just had, Nicole tapped her fingers gently on the tabletop. "Return the things to us. Otherwise, the police will come to tell you whether I will bear with it." When the fat girl heard Nicole was going to call the police, she was scared out of her wits and quickly instructed the two girls to take the things out. The two girls, quaking in their boots, went quickly to fish out the items that belonged to June and Lulu from under the fat girl's bed and handed them to Nicole. Nicole did not look at them but turned to Lulu and June. "Come and see if these are what you have lost." The two girls hurriedly handed the things to June and Lulu, apologizing repeatedly. June recognized the bracelet at once and hurriedly took it back, then looked at Nicole with gratitude. She did not expect Nicole to solve the things she found particularly difficult so easily. Lulu had also gotten back the two things she had lost. She shot a glance at the two girls, saying, "You all should live up to the reputation as the Royal Creek Institute students instead of becoming thieves." Nicole could not help but give a second glance at Lulu, impressed by her upright thinking. When the two of them had gotten back their belongings, Nicole lazily walked over to the fat girl, bent down, and took back the phone, then gently waved it in front of her. "I have a bad temper, and I will not tolerate repeated provocations. I advise you not to do anything stupid again. Or else, I will post this video online. You know exactly what will happen to you if that happens, don't you? After all, you are more experienced than we are, right?" The fat girl was so frightened to see Nicole's frosty eyes. She would not dare to mess with Nicole from now on. What kind of monster is Nicole? She not only is terribly good in martial arts but also has reported them to Mr. Ellison. And now, she has even gotten the school surveillance video in such a short time. This is simply beyond comprehension. Didn't they all say that Nicole had no background? How come she is so difficult to deal with? By now, even a fool knew Nicole was someone who must not be messed with. The fat girl cursed Rain in her mind. It was Rain who instigated her to target Nicole. She quickly said to Nicole, "I am really sorry for I lost my mind. I promise I will never do that again." Together with the other two girls, she apologized to Nicole and others, promising that they would never look for trouble with Nicole again. Nicole glanced at them. Her purpose this time was to get back the stolen things of June and Lulu, and deter these jackanapes from messing with her again, which was very annoying. Seeing that those girls had resigned themselves to her demand, Nicole looked back at June and Lulu and asked with her eyes if they were happy with it. Lulu and June both nodded. Not only did they get their things back, but they also got concessions and assurance from their third-year seniors, which had completely exceeded their expectations. They nodded, and Nicole put away her phone. Leaving the three third-year seniors alone, she said to June and Lulu, "Let's go." On the way back, Nicole started to think these people were probably taking instruction from someone to target her. She did not need to be a rocket scientist to figure out who the mastermind was. It must be Snow or Rain. After all, these two sisters were the only ones who had singled her out for the past few days. Nicole scoffed impatiently at the thought of this. "How annoying," she mumbled. She just wanted to go to school in peace. But Rain and Snow had been a pain in the ass. She just could not understand why the two of them had to target her. While Nicole was deep in thought, Lulu praised Nicole enthusiastically for her heroic act while walking behind her. June was listening carefully to her for the first time, even nodding her head from time to time. When Lulu recalled the image of Nicole sitting composedly in front of the computer, totally focused on her work, Lulu felt Nicole was a real techie. The other so-called techies in the school were not in the same league as Nicole. June, similarly, started to admire Nicole when recalling how cool and calm Nicole was at the time. June used to be very fond of computers, but unfortunately, she was not talented and gave up learning. Both of them looked at Nicole in puzzlement. What annoying, Nicole? Nicole looked at them and did not want to cause trouble for them. Nothing, she replied. Lulu looked at Nicole with questions in her mind. June could tell that Nicole did not want to talk about it, so she quickly came up to her, holding the corners of her clothes nervously, looking at Nicole's beautiful face, and whispered, "You helped me with this. To show my appreciation, I would like to invite you to a meal." Nicole raised an eyebrow. Apart from not being very approachable, June was not a bad person. Knowing that June was showing her goodwill, she agreed at once. "Okay, where are we going?" June felt relieved because Nicole did not refuse. When Nicole asked where they were going, she squeezed the corner of her clothes tightly and hesitated for a long while before making up her mind. "Do you have any good suggestions?" She knew Nicole's habit of consumption, not being wasteful but with high expectations for the quality of food and clothing. Even other things she used were expensive stuff. Meanwhile, June could enter the Royal Creek Institute as a special student because of her good grades. Her family was not wealthy. She usually wore clothing that cost only a couple of tens of dollars apiece, feeling very out of place in the Royal Creek Institute, which was full of rich people. So she only buried her head in her study and never talked to others. She was like a little hedgehog, erecting her spines all over the body to protect herself. Nicole saw her uneasiness and just casually said, "Let's go to the cafeteria at the Royal Creek Institute. I think the food there is pretty good." After saying that, Nicole took the lead and walked in the cafeteria's direction. June looked at Nicole from behind in surprise. She thought Nicole would go to places like the Grove, and she had been prepared to tighten her belt for the rest of the month to treat Nicole to dinner. Even then, she was worried that the money she had would not be enough. So it struck her dumb when Nicole said she preferred going to the cafeteria. Though always looking cold, Nicole never showed the slightest impatience when she taught Lulu something. She actually had a good heart. A smile spread across her face when June thought of this. The closer she got to Nicole, the more she found Nicole was different from what she thought. June quickly caught up and walked beside Nicole. Lulu had sensed the change in June. She looked at the two from behind and called out, "Nicole, June, I am going back to take some shut-eye. So I am not going to join you guys. But remember to bring me food." Nicole waved her hand in acknowledgement. The cafeteria was pretty crowded despite today being the weekend. After they found a table, June volunteered to order food and asked Nicole to sit here waiting for her. Nicole nodded. With her looking after the table was far safer than June sitting here. Because of Austin, no one dared to get close to within a foot of her. While she was looking at June from behind, someone suddenly came standing in front of her. She looked up and saw Rain looking at her and saying with sarcasm, "Why did you come to eat in a place where only inferior people would dine? So why are you here too?" Nicole looked at her nonchalantly. Rain had been appearing in front of her and digging at her from time to time as if she had a few loose screws in her head. Since this was the case, she was not going to act nice. "I am only here looking for you. Not that I want to eat here." Rain glared at her with indignation. Rain apparently was a regular at the cafeteria, showing off her newly bought clothes and shoes to her friends. But for the sake of Daniel and Gloria, Nicole did not want to say anything more. But Rain leaned against the seat that Nicole had reserved for June and tossed June's bag aside. "I am here to warn you. Don't get carried away simply because you are good at Math Olympiad. Stop shamelessly seducing Gary. Don't say I didn't warn you. Even if your Math Olympiad is good, the Riddle family will not scrape the bottom of the barrel, accepting someone like you who has scored last place in every test." Rain thought she had already figured it out. Although Nicole got a perfect score in Math Olympiad, she's just as good as Gary. Math Olympiad must be her only proficient subject. She must be lousy at other subjects of study. People will know her true competence when the monthly exam is over. I still have a way to kick her out of the Riddle family. Nicole finally got angry as she watched Rain throw June's bag to the ground. Pick it up. Rain had said a lot of harsh words. She was stunned when Nicole suddenly scolded her back. Was Nicole's brain broken? She had warned Nicole so many times, yet she did not listen. Now she wanted her to pick up a freaking $50 bag? Why should she listen to her? Rain sneered, "What did you say?" Seeing her reckless look, Nicole did not have the urge to repeat herself again. "I asked you to pick it up. Do you understand English?" Rain looked at her cold eyes and felt a sudden sense of inferiority toward Nicole. However, it quickly turned into anger after hearing Nicole's response. "How dare you ask if I understand your English?" As expected, village people are uncivilized. As Rain was speaking out of rage, she did not control her volume. All the surrounding people started to look at them. Nicole noticed June was walking back toward them with her food. She irresistibly frowned. Even though she did not know Rain personally, she was not pleased with her rude attitude toward Nicole. "If I'm uncivilized just by saying that, then what about you? You threw away other people's food and mocked those who dine at the canteen as lower class. Is that how a civilized person is?" Nicole's words were strong, and everyone else heard them clearly. Such derogating words bothered everyone else, and they all stared at Rain angrily. "Isn't that Rain? Those words actually came out of her mouth? Who does she take us for? I'm embarrassed to say that I used to admire her." Yeah, she threw people's bags to the floor and took up the seat not for sitting. It's clear who's the uncivilized one here. I've always hated Nicole, but this time around, it really is Rain's fault. I saw her throwing the bag with my own eyes. How can such a person be the campus queen for the senior department? Was it just because her sister was the campus queen of the tertiary department? It really is such a bummer. Rain heard everyone's comments and panicked. She did not expect things to turn into such a mess. She just wanted to warn Nicole when she saw her sitting there. It really was not her plan for things to turn out this way. Nicole. You better be careful." Everyone around always looked at her with admiration and envy. She never had to experience such situations where her whole body was flushing. She did not even dare to lift her face. It was all Nicole's fault. Rain spat out such harsh words and left in a hurry. But Nicole pulled one of her sleeves to stop her. Rain was a lot shorter than Nicole by half a head. So, it was easy for Nicole to stop her. "You threw people's things to the ground and have no intention to pick them up before leaving? Is that how the riddles taught you? I guess I'll have to go back and ask Grandpa about this." Rain was extremely frightened by those words. Grandpa really hated it when the family members did not behave in public and tarnished the family's name. If Nicole really told him, Rain would not have the easy way out. Rain gritted her teeth, bent down, and picked up June's bag with 2 fingers. Then she threw it back on the seat. Immediately after, she shook her hands as if she had touched something dirty. She seemed disgusted about the bag as if one touch would cost her life. Then, she looked at Nicole and asked through those gritted teeth, "I can leave now, right?" Nicole noticed that June's bag was swung open, and everything scattered to the ground. Her under eye twitched a little. At this moment, June was already back. She was shocked upon seeing the state of her backpack. Once Nicole noticed, she grabbed Rain and turned her around to face June. She said in a cold voice, "Apologize to her." Rain was a little dizzy from the turning. After she looked closely and saw that it was the girl who came in with Nicole, her face was filled with disdain. "So that rubbish bag belongs to a bumpkin like you. Why should I apologize to a bumpkin?" Upon hearing this, June's grip tightened as she was holding her plate. Then, she placed her plate steadily on the table. As she was buying a meal for Nicole, she had chosen the best dishes available in the canteen. She did not want to spill any of it. After that, she looked down and picked up everything that was on the ground. The whole process was filled with silence. Seeing this, Nicole let go of Rain's hands and turned around to look at June in silence. As soon as Rain's hands were free, she wanted to run away. But June had already picked up her belongings. She called her out, "Rain." Rain wanted to pretend that she did not hear it, but all eyes were on her. So, she could only stand still. June did not care if she was only looking at her backside. She continued, "I know you've always looked down on people like me who have no money or power. But frankly speaking, I also look down on people like you who have money and power but no morals. It's fine if you don't apologize. I don't need your apology. But remember this, I am June, the one who rejected your apology." Hearing this, Rain turned around and stared at June in disbelief. But all she received from June was a calm reply, "You may leave now." Rain wanted to talk back, but all the gazes shooting at her were not kind. It was as if everyone were despising her. Therefore, she held back that her facial expression was getting uglier. It was at this moment that she regained a sense of consciousness. She was already very embarrassed that day. She could not afford to say anything else that would harm her reputation. This Nicole, even her poor and dirty friends, are so annoying. Rain glared at Nicole fiercely and left in a hurry. She got into trouble for mocking Nicole. It really was a bad day. After Rain left, Nicole and June continued eating as if nothing had happened. The both of them did not talk much. Nicole had a better impression of June after witnessing what she did. She had always admired those who stood up for themselves. It seems like June was not one to submit to oppression. June sat opposite Nicole and ate quietly. After a long while, she suddenly said, "Nicole, that bracelet was from my grandmother. It was the only thing she left for me after she died. I'm really grateful that you got it back for me." Nicole looked at her. She was not very surprised, but she was reminded of her own grandma in Great Oak before she left. Mrs. Wallace Sr. gave her a lot of things. Even when Nicole went back to the Riddles' residence and Gloria had changed everything new for her, she insisted on keeping everything that Mrs. Wallace Sr. gave. She brought it to her hostel instead. The panic in June's eyes was not a joke. That bracelet must be very important to her. So, Nicole decided to hack into the security system and help her. She only looked at June quietly and lent her a listening ear. June continued, "Nicole, all these while I've actually been acting cool. I'm worried that people will realize my family background, so I chose to act that way. But now I understand that no matter how I act, the real rich people can see through me. There will still be people who will look down on me. So, I've decided to just be myself. I don't have to care about what others think. I am indeed poor, but this $50 backpack isn't that shameful. It is those who have no money but insist on using $1 million branded bags that's really shameful." Nicole looked at her with deep eyes as if she had been listening carefully. June smiled at her, "Speaking of which, it was you, Nicole, who gave me the courage to do so. You were being gossiped and bashed on the school's forum, and yet you didn't care about it but just be yourself. To be honest, your response made someone else seem like a clown. One that is fighting over something you don't care about." Nicole did not expect her to understand these things. She thought that June was not one to use social media. "I'm just too lazy to give them any attention." June stared at Nicole while feeling a sense of admiration for her. Nicole was never the kind to run away from problems. She would remain calm and unafraid of any challenges. June secretly decided to take Nicole as a model and learn how to ignore those annoying sounds. At this, June smiled brightly. It was as if she finally decided what she really wanted. She quietly said, "Thank you, Nicole." Nicole looked at her without saying anything. She took out a small note and wrote something briefly. Then, she passed it to June. June took over and realized that it was a series of numbers on the paper. She looked back at Nicole puzzledly. Nicole said calmly, "It's Samuel's number." June blushed immediately. She did not know if she should accept it or not, but she froze. How did Nicole know about her deepest secret? Nicole glanced at her affectionately and said, "Sometimes, chasing after what you want isn't shameful. There's nothing wrong with catching feelings too." Before this, Nicole had never thought of doing this. But after seeing how brave June was, she began to admire her. So, she thought it would be a good chance for June to make friends with Samuel. June looked at Nicole while thinking. Then, she looked at the number on her hand and nodded, "Understood." At this moment, Nicole's phone rang. She opened it, and it turned out to be a text message. She did not give Jared her number, right? But Jared immediately identified himself and invited her over to try new coffee. No one could say no to coffee, especially when it was from Jared's orchard. Nicole thought for a moment. She looked at her watch and said, "Thank you for the meal, June. You should take away one for Lulu as I'm heading somewhere else." June was still staring at the number on her palms. Hearing this, she nodded. "Okay, you can go first." Nicole returned her meal tray and walked toward the cafe near the school's entrance. After a while, Nicole reached the cafe. The monthly test was just around the corner, so the cafe was filled with people. They were all students who were there to study. Nicole noticed that Jared was sitting next to the window. Max was speaking to him at the side as if they were busy in a discussion. Little did she know that Max was reporting to Jared about Nicole's relationship with Samuel and Spencer. Mr. Johnston, about the other day at the Grove, those around Ms. Riddle were her family members. That pair of twins are Samuel and Spencer. They're Ms. Riddle's biological brothers. Jared's brows relaxed as soon as he heard this. At the same time, Nicole opened the door and walked in. She first looked at the counter, but she soon spotted Jared and Max's table. The lady's eyes were looking good, but her face was as cold as ice. Jared realized that Nicole had spotted him, so he automatically approached her with a smile. Max looked at Jared from head to toe, wondering if he saw the wrong person. Was this the cold Jared he knew of who never showed interest in any woman? Seeing Jared's beaming smile, Max could not help but look at him questionably. Jared did not even bother to look at Max and walked straight toward Nicole. He said, "You're here." Nicole nodded and asked directly, "The new coffee, where's it?" Jared was not taken aback by her straightforwardness at all. He stood up and pulled his sleeves. "I was waiting for you to come so I could make a fresh batch for you." Max saw him walking to the coffee bar unbelievably. He pushed his spectacles up his nose. Then, he turned toward Nicole while trying to act cool. "Ms. Riddle, is Mr. Johnston going to make you a cup of coffee with his own hands?" His reaction was a little weird. Nicole glanced at him and replied, "Yeah, it isn't the first time." "Why?" Max turned to look at Jared indifferently and thought, "It isn't the first time. Oh man." When Jared walked out to serve the coffee, he noticed Max standing beside Nicole and staring at him mindlessly. He frowned. "Max, what are you still doing here? Have you finished your work?" Max came back to his senses and stopped staring at both of them. He bid them goodbye and left. Nicole was not bothered by the weird interactions between them. She only stared at the coffee from Jared. All her focus was on it. As soon as Jared noticed the way Nicole was staring at that cup of coffee, he could not help but laugh. Sure enough, she is still a child at heart. As long as it involved something she likes, she would be easily attracted. While smirking, he took the coffee out of the tray and placed it in front of Nicole. "Here, try some." Nicole immediately took a sip after hearing it. Then, her face was shining with a satisfied look. Looking at his bright eyes, Nicole thought he was waiting for her feedback. She slowly opened her mouth. "This caramel macchiato is pretty good. Especially the barista, that's some good coffee-making skills." After hearing such comments, Jared's eyes gleamed with joy. He did not realize when he had started to care about this little brat's comments. Seeing that Jared was still staring at her, Nicole raised her brows. "That's all for my feedback. Do you have anything else to say?" Hearing this, Jared's smile dropped. What did she mean? Chasing him away after drinking the coffee he made? Jared frowned and started to question if his charm was not working on her anymore. Why is it that this girl was never moved by him? Last time, she did not want to eat with him. This time around, she wanted to chase him away after drinking the coffee. Could it be that she really was here for the coffee only? Does that mean that in her heart, Jared was not as important as a cup of coffee? His arrogance and self-esteem did not stop him from trying. He only snapped his fingers and asked for a cup of coffee. "I'm also having 1 cup. I'll head back to work after this." Nicole nodded. So, that was the plan. The whole place was indeed crowded and full, so she could only accept to share a table with him reluctantly. Seeing that she did not have anything else to do, Nicole put down her cup and took out a mathematics exercise book from her bag. Well, since she was already there, she could use the time to revise a few questions. Jared's face turned even darker after seeing this. "Do not even mind the coffee. Jared was the kind of person where girls were screaming over him everywhere he went. But at this moment, in her eyes, he was not even comparable to a book of mathematics questions. The sadness he felt was indescribable. Jared only gave a death stare to Nicole. However, Nicole could not sense anything. She was focused on the questions, spinning her pen without writing a word. No matter how long she sat there, Jared would be sitting in front of her for the same amount of time. Nicole kept her books as the sky turned dark. She only realized that the man sitting opposite her had not left yet after she had finished packing her bags. She was stunned. "Why are you still here?" Her reaction carried a sense of annoyance, and it hurt Jared once more. Jared could not withstand it and replied, "No matter what, I'm still your fiancé by name. Don't you think you're acting a little too distant to me?" Nicole was taken aback by what he said. She raised her brows and said, "As you've said, it's just by name. We were never close." Jared was very speechless. "I'm leaving now." Nicole took her bag and turned around to leave. Her expression was so cold that it really seemed like she did not have any feelings for Jared. Squinting slightly, Jared said, "You and Nora are sisters, yet your personality is so different." Nicole's eyes widened. She did not know why he would suddenly mention Nora. Jared looked at her playfully. "I'm not sure how that sister of yours got my number. But she's been texting me every day. As her sister, aren't you worried about it?" Jared stared into her eyes. It was as if he was trying to sense the slightest hint of jealousy in her eyes or any change in emotions. But there was none. Nicole's eyes were as clear as day. She tilted her head slightly and asked, "Why should I be worried?" She asked innocently, as if she really did not know what was there for her to be worried about. However, this added more salt to Jared's existing wound. As his fiancée by name, she was not worried about other girls hitting on him. Nora is Nora. I am Nicole. Whatever she likes doesn't mean I'll like it as well. Nicole said coldly and looked at him from head to toe. Then, she turned around to leave. Jared, who was left alone, mockingly said, "This brat. How dare she say that she doesn't like me?" Her eyes were filled with disdain just now. No one dared to look at him with those eyes. That girl was really touching all the wrong spots that angered him. He must really do a background check on her. He needs to know what kind of person Nicole was for her to be this daring. Since she does not like him, what kind of guy would she like then? He looked at Nicole from behind and made a phone call. Ask someone to follow Nicole and find out who she really is. Thinking that Lucifer was also on this campus, Jared unconsciously rubbed the index finger of his right hand. It could not be so coincidental. The last time Ellison's attitude toward computer talent had absolutely explained something. The Ellison family lacked no people. So who was he protecting? Just that he still had no clue who this person really was. When Nicole returned to the dormitory, Lulu was the only one there. Instead of asking where June had gone, she took out the set of exercises she was doing in the afternoon, drew something on it, and then threw it to Lulu. "Look, I have marked the questions that I think are interesting and written the answers." Lulu was stunned, feeling grateful. "Thank you, Nicole." Lulu had long heard that it was Declan Hancock who came up with the math questions in this monthly exam, and as a judge of the Olympiad group, his questions were notoriously difficult. This was also why it was only a monthly exam, but the students in the class were so hardworking with Nicole helping explain the questions. Lulu felt she could already lay out many calculation steps for the general math Olympiad questions. She could gradually dabble in the more advanced math Olympiad questions. At first, she was about to give up on this monthly exam, and it was Nicole who let her see the light. She took the workbook that Nicole had given her and studied it. Seeing Lulu work so hard, Nicole could not help but smile and take out her book to read. The next morning, Nicole went out for morning exercise as usual. As soon as she went out, she heard noises as everyone was excitedly discussing something. She frowned, put on her headphones, and went for a morning run. There was an unassuming black vehicle driving up in front of the school gate. The emblem of the car was very special, but only those in the know could recognize it. Each of these cars was custom-made, priceless, and had always been provided for the bigwigs in both business and politics, not for an average Joe. Many students of the Royal Creek Institute gathered around the school gate, but no one gave the vehicle a second look until they saw a white Maserati slowly pulling up behind this vehicle, and everyone went ape. Max, in the front passenger seat of the black vehicle, looked back in puzzlement and then said to Jared, "I remember it now. Didn't Ellison say that his grandson came back today? He must be in the car behind us." Jared was expressionless, as he had never been interested in these people. He just rested his elbow on the windowsill and looked out at the campus scenery of the Royal Creek Institute. His handsome silhouette loomed in the shadow, and the students of the Royal Creek Institute only had time to glimpse a beautifully curved jaw, and the black vehicle was gone. Those students were stunned for a few seconds before they snapped back and continued to cheer Harvey. They were stunned for a reason. No one had ever seen such, so they could not help but imagine in their minds how good-looking the man was. Harvey in the white Maserati was deep in thought. He had also seen the vehicle in front. The driver saw Harvey was zoning out, looking at the car in front. He thought Harvey was not happy that the other car had gone in front of him. Mr. Ellison, the driver in that car, thinks he owns the place. He drives so slowly and hogs the main lane. Doesn't he know the Ellison family car is behind him? Harvey shot a glance at the driver, but no one knew what he was thinking. If he had not seen it wrongly, that vehicle should belong to Preston Riddle. But was he not supposed to be abroad? Why did he come to the Royal Creek Institute? Seeing that more and more people outside had recognized Harvey's car and wanted to come over to take a glimpse of his face, the entire stretch of road became congested. No matter how hard the driver honked the horn, it was useless. He could not help but wipe the sweat from his forehead and carefully looked at Harvey behind him. "Mr. Ellison." Harvey glanced out the window with a spring-like smile. "Just drop me here. I will walk over." He opened the car door. Before he got out, he turned back his head to look at the driver as if he had thought of something. "Drive the car back to my garage, and then you can get your salary from the family butler. You are fired." The driver not only talked too much but also did not do his job. He was supposed to solve problems for his master, not the other way round. There was no point in keeping him. The way Harvey said it was gentle, as if he was asking the driver to get his lunch. But his words caused the driver to freeze. Looking at Harvey's smiling face, the driver did not even dare to protest but nodded in acknowledgement. When Harvey got out of the car, everyone instantly gathered, chattering and talking around him. "Wow, he is really handsome. I have no more regrets in this life. You look like a celebrity. May I have your autograph?" Stop comparing Harvey with those brainless celebrities. Harvey is a famous mathematical genius. Listening to these people arguing and talking about his private life, the smile on Harvey's face broadened. He raised a finger to his lips, gesturing them to keep their voices down, but that had instead caused a group of girls to scream madly. Harvey's eyes darkened as he looked at those girls screaming with their hands covering their faces. Soon, everyone quietened down, and only then Harvey spoke. "I am glad to meet you all, but I still need to prepare something. I wonder if you guys can give way so I can go." When everyone saw his personable, smiling face like the purest snow in the world, they could not help but become eager about what he was going to prepare and consciously make way for him. After all, who could say no to an elegant and attractive man? Harvey walked through unhurriedly. All eyes were on him, but he was unaware of it, always having a smile on his face. The sun seemed gentle when it shone on his face, treating such a perfect person as if even the light was favoring him. When he finally walked away into the distance, people behind him exclaimed, "Truly in Harvey's fashion, no one could come close when it comes to his magnanimity. He is the son of the Ellison family, not a son of the nouveau riche like others in the school, but a real noble. He is in a different league altogether." When I had not met him in person, I was still wondering if he could be worthy of Snow. Now I feel like Snow isn't necessarily worthy of him. No one refuted that statement. Even Snow's fans, who were usually her staunch defenders, were quiet as a church mouse. There was not a word from them. The truth was too apparent. Comparing Snow's disposition with Harvey's was akin to comparing peanuts with pearls. She was too pretentious, a stark contrast to Harvey's genuineness. But many people were still very supportive of the two coming together. After all, there were few good-looking girls in the Royal Creek Institute previously. The Royal Creek Institute covered a large area. There was a hill behind the school. The hill offered breathtaking scenery, lush greenery, and fresh air. No one in the Royal Creek Institute knew the hill was Mr. Riddle Sr.'s little gift to Harvey. It was a privately owned hill. Harvey would usually take a detour every time he went to his grandfather's office. After all, few people traversed this road, and he could find some quiet moments here. He walked at a leisurely pace but not slow. It did not take long before he came to the path down the hill. It was an open space where Harvey occasionally came here for a run when he was still living on campus, so he had a wooden chair installed here. He would sit here for a while when you had nothing to do. It could be said that this was his exclusive seat. But this time, he was surprised. He found on his exclusive chair a bunch of strange items. There were some things like weapons with unique looks, as if they were things that would only be used in practicing martial arts. Harvey rarely showed emotions on his face. But at this time, he clearly looked surprised. Who would play such a thing in school? Could it be that some martial art wizard had come while I was away? He looked up ahead, and sure enough, he saw a person. Harvey took a few steps forward to take a closer look. He was astonished to find that the person practicing martial arts was a girl. Harvey could not see her face clearly, only that she had a fair complexion and was holding a whip-like weapon in her hand. Every time she withdrew her hand, the whip would oscillate around her like a snake. Sometimes as she struck down, the tail of the whip hit the ground, producing an extremely crisp and sharp slapping sound, as if a thunderbolt exploded next to the ears. Whips were one of the most difficult weapons to master in modern martial arts. But this girl could handle it with ease. How could he not know that there was such a martial art genius in the Royal Creek Institute? She was agile but losing no strength. Harvey looked at her, fascinated. He wanted to get further closer to see who she really was. Nicole was now ready to wrap up by pulling up the whip with the sway of her hand. As she turned around, she was surprised to see a clueless guy, who appeared out of nowhere, standing so close to her. Nicole could not change the whip's direction by now, her face grave. She spun herself around and wrapped the whip around her waist in the nick of time to avoid hurting someone. But even so, the whip's tail carrying a chilly air still swished past in front of Harvey's eyes. The girl's characteristic coolish fragrance fleeted past the tip of his nose, causing his heart to race. Why did you suddenly come so close? Don't you know it is very dangerous? Nicole shot him an irritated glare, wondering why he was so reckless. If she had not reacted quickly enough, he would have surely been wounded or something. Harvey only then snapped back and saw Nicole's face. She's so stunning. She's like the spring blossom, cold as the moon in the night sky, dignified yet irresistibly alluring. As if she did not want her hair to affect her movements, her long hair was braided into several strands, bent around the side of her neck, and cascaded down smoothly on her chest. The inky black hair and icy eyes made her look aloof and out of this world. Harvey looked at her quietly. He then recognized her as the person, Nicole, who had been discussed on the school forum lately. He came out of his daze and let out a gentle smile. "Hello, Nicole," he said, his tone of voice proud yet reserved. Nicole frowned, not impressed with this guy who came disturbing her martial arts practice. He was nearly wounded yet still greeted her and did not have any remorse. She did not know how he knew her, and she was not interested in having any conversation with him. She said in an icy voice, "If you still want to live, don't watch someone practice martial arts at such a close range next time." With that, she walked over to the wooden chair, packed up her things, and left. Harvey was left looking sheepish as she went. She is arrogant, he thought to himself. He was the most outstanding son of the Ellisons and the only heir to the Ellison group. Everyone who met him would treat him with respect, and some even tried to brown-nose him. But Nicole was distant and did not give a damn who he was. Damn it! I can't believe I am not angry at all. Instead, I feel like being in love. Have I fallen in love with her at first sight? Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this story, please like and share so others can see it too. Also hit the subscription button and notification bell so you can be notified on our next release. Thank you for your support. God bless you.